The 21st month of my imprisonment is well on its way. My friends took it for granted that I would write and produce another book. It is true that the East, or at any rate that part of it which is called India, has been enamored of thinking, often thinking about matters which to those who consider themselves practical men seem absurd and pointless. She has always honored thought and the men of thought, and refused to consider the men of the sword or possessors of money as superior to them. Even in her days of degradation, she has clung to the thought and found some comfort in it. Even today, in this money age, the influence of this tradition is marked, and because of it, Gandhiji, who is not a Brahmin, can become the supreme leader of India and move the hearts of millions without force or compulsion or official position or possession of money. Perhaps this is as good a test as any of the nation's cultural background and its conscious or subconscious objective. To what kind of leader does it give its allegiance? From these dim beginnings of long ago flow out the rivers of Indian thought and philosophy, of Indian life and culture and literature, ever widening and increasing in volume, and sometimes flooding the land with their rich deposits. India is like some ancient palimpsest on which layer upon layer of thought and reverie had been inscribed, and yet no succeeding layer had completely hidden or erased what had been written previously. All of these existed in our conscious and subconscious selves, though we may not have been aware of them, and they had gone to build up the complex and mysterious personality of India. During this enormous span of years, they changed their courses sometimes, and even appeared to shrivel up, yet they preserved their essential identity. In India, we find during every period when her civilization bloomed an intense joy in life and nature, a pleasure in the act of living. It is inconceivable that a culture or view of life based on otherworldliness or world worthlessness could have produced all these manifestations of vigorous and varied life. Indeed, it should be obvious that any culture that was basically otherworldly could not have carried on for thousands of years. We can never forget the ideas that have moved our race, the dreams of the Indian people through the ages, the wisdom of the ancients, their toleration of ways other than theirs, their capacity to absorb other peoples and their cultural accomplishments, to synthesize them and develop a varied and mixed culture. We will never forget them or cease to take pride in that noble heritage of ours. If India forgets them, she will no longer remain India, and her joy and pride will cease to be. War has ended in Europe and Asia. The atom bomb became the symbol of the new age. The use of this bomb and the tortuous ways of power politics brought further disillusion. The old imperialisms still functioned. June 15, Friday, 8 a.m. 10 minutes ago, we were informed that we were unconditionally released. I came from the long seclusion of prison to crowds and intense activity. The Viceroy called a conference of the Indian leaders at Simla to consider the formation of an interim government consisting of representatives of the main communities and equal proportions of what was termed caste Hindus and Muslims. Six days ago, my colleagues and I sat on the chairs of high office in the government of India. It is with no joy in my heart that I commend these proposals to you, though I have no doubt in my mind that this is the right course. For generations we have dreamt and struggled for a free and independent, united India, but we failed in finding a solution to the communal problem agreeable to all parties concerned, and certainly we must share the blame as we have to shoulder the consequences of this failure. During the past 5 years, the Muslim League has had a clear field in India. The Congress was almost continually under ban and in prison. We have thus had no approach to the Muslim masses, and they have been fed with lies, both by the League and government propagandists. Mahatma Gandhi, while opposed to partition, proposed a form of self-determination whereby in the Muslim majority provinces, both Muslims and Hindus would vote on the issue of separation. Jinnah insisted that Muslims alone should vote on the question of separation, and that separation should be effected while the British were in India and not after India had become free. On that auspicious Vijayadashmi day took place the inauspicious ending of the Gandhi-Jinnah talks. The British government has to decide once and for all its policy in regard to this matter. It can no longer sit on the fence. It cannot force Pakistan on India in the form demanded by Jinnah, for that certainly will lead to civil war. The Muslim League launched a direct action day on August 16th, 1946, with an immediate demand for Pakistan. Our hearts were heavy with the terrible tragedy of Calcutta, and because of the insensate strife of brother against brother. The freedom we had envisaged and for which we had labored through generations of trial and suffering was for the people of India and not for one group or class or the followers of one religion. I am personally against the idea of division of the country, but if a representative election of the areas wish to separate themselves from India, then I shall agree to their going. It is obvious, if there is a regular partition, the different parts of India will have to cooperate with each other in 100 different ways.
Long ago, we made it with destiny. And when we shall redeem our pledge, those or the fullness at the stroke of the midnight, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment which comes to rest history when we step from the world to when and when the it is fitting that at this solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to the service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity.
Jawahar Lal Nehru
The battle of our freedom is fought and won, but another battle no less important than what we have won still faces us. It is a battle with no outside enemy. It is a battle with our own self. In the Punjab, in both East and West, there was disaster and sorrow. There was murder and arson and looting in many places, and streams of refugees poured out from one place to another. Our foundations have been shaken, and our standards seem to have disappeared. I cannot think of the people in Pakistan as strangers. They have been our countrymen, and neither they nor we can rid ourselves of the past or forget our close kinship. I can assure the people of Pakistan that India has no aggressive designs against any country, least of all against Pakistan. We want Pakistan to live in peace and to progress and to have the closest ties with us. There never will be aggression from our side. Friends and fellow Asians, what has brought you, the men and women of Asia, here? Why have you come from various countries of this mother continent of ours and gathered together in this ancient city of Delhi? Asia, after a long period of quiescence, has suddenly become important again in world affairs. It was here that civilization began, and man started on his unending adventure of life. Here the mind of man searched unceasingly for truth, and the spirit of man shone out like a beacon which lighted up the whole world. This dynamic Asia, from which great streams of culture flowed in all directions, gradually became static and unchanging. A change is coming over the scene now, and Asia is again finding herself. There are powerful creative impulses and a new vitality in all the people of Asia. The masses are awake and they demand their heritage. Strong winds are blowing all over Asia. Let us not be afraid of them, but rather welcome them, for only with their help can we build the new Asia of our dreams. The dawn of its newly acquired freedom is turbulent, because during these past 2 centuries, its growth was arrested, frustration was widespread, and new forces appeared. These forces were essentially nationalist, seeking political freedom, but behind them was the vital urge for bettering the economic conditions of the masses of the people. The remedy is to accelerate the advent of freedom and to remove the poverty. If this is achieved, Asia will become a powerful factor for stability and peace. October 1947. Considerable parts of the Jammu and Kashmir state have been overrun by raiders from outside, well armed and well equipped, and they have sacked and looted the towns and villages and put many of the inhabitants to the sword. Frightfulness suddenly descended upon this lovely and peaceful country. To be fighting side by side with the people of Kashmir against fanatic hordes was a heartening experience which set aside for the moment the memories of communal strife and partition. I trust in this defense we shall give a demonstration to all India and to the world how we can function unitedly and in a non-communal way in Kashmir. In this way, this terrible crisis in Kashmir may well lead to a healing of the deep wounds which India has suffered in recent months. The world of today has achieved much, but for all its declared love for humanity, it has based itself far more on hatred and violence than on the virtues that make man human. Not mere killing, for man must die, but the deliberate and persistent propagation of hatred and falsehood, which gradually become the normal habits of the people. It is dangerous and harmful to be guided in our life's course by hatreds and aversions, for they are wasteful of energy and limit and twist the mind and prevent it from perceiving the truth. This little man of poor physique had something of steel in him, something rock-like, which did not lack physical powers, however great they might be. His calm, deep eyes would hold one and gently probe into the depth. His voice, clear and limpid, would purr its way into the heart and evoke an emotional response. His language was always simple and to the point. A man of the keenest intellect, of fine feeling and good taste, wide vision, very humane, and yet essentially an ascetic who had suppressed his passion and emotions, sublimated them, and directed them in the spiritual channel. A tremendous personality, drawing people to himself like a magnet and calling out fierce loyalty and attachments, and this so utterly unlike a peasant. And yet withal, he is the great peasant, with a peasant blindness to some aspects of life. Friends and comrades, the light has gone out of our lives and there is darkness everywhere. Our beloved leader, Bapu as we call him, the father of the nation, is no more. We will not run to him for advice and seek solace from him. And that is a terrible blow, not to me only, but to millions and millions in this country. A madman has put an end to his life, for I can only call him mad who did it. And yet there has been enough poison spread in this country during the past years and months. And this poison has had an effect on people's minds. We must face this poison. We must root out this poison. And we must face all the perils that encompass us, and face them not madly or badly, but rather in the way that our beloved teacher taught us to face them. We, the people of India, have solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, political, and equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give ourselves this Constitution. Our Constitution is an expression of the democratic urge. The Constitution embodies fundamental rights and directive principles of policy which assure many types of freedom. Our state is a secular state which gives equal opportunity to every group, every part of the country, every state, province, and area. It is not enough to talk of political unity. We must have emotional unity, which does away with provincial barriers, with caste barriers, or communal or religious barriers. We stand for democracy and for socialism, not necessarily in any doctrinaire sense, but in the sense that we stand for some basic principles of socialism. We say that our aim is a socialist pattern of society, something which affects the whole community, helps all the people in the country to raise their level of living and reduce the big differences that may exist. Today there is in India a certain vulgarity about the difference in people's standards. There are the very well-to-do and the very poor. It is inherent in the circumstances. You cannot get rid of that by simply cutting off the heads of the tall people. You want people to grow. You do not want to shorten all of them. The basic thing, I believe, is that wrong means will not lead to right results. And that is no longer merely an ethical doctrine, but a practical proposition. Thus, violence cannot possibly lead today to a solution of any major problems, because violence has become much too terrible and destructive. The question arises as to what our ultimate objective should be. Democracy and socialism are means to an end, and not the end itself. We talk of the good of society. Is this something apart from transcending the good of the individual composing it? The law of life should not be competition or acquisitiveness, but cooperation. The good of each contributing to the good of all. Production today is the first priority, but production by itself is not enough, for this may lead to an even greater concentration of wealth in a few hands, which comes in the way of progress, and which, in the context of today, produces instability and conflict. Therefore, fair and equitable distribution is essential for any solution of the problem. A proper land policy is essential for the progress of agriculture. We have gone some way towards achieving this by putting an end to the zamindari and jagirdari systems in many states. We must complete this task, eliminate all intermediaries, and fix a limit for the size of holdings. But the main object of land reforms is a deeper one. They are meant to break up the old class structure of a society that is stagnant. The main plan is a big one, embracing innumerable activities in the country. But far bigger is the vision which draws us forward, a vision inspired by courage and hope and reasoned optimism. Let us have faith in our country and ourselves. Above all, the plan is a program of work. Let us all become partners in this great enterprise of building a new India. As I walked round the site, I thought that these days the biggest temple and mosque and gurdwara is a place where man works for the good of mankind. Which place can be greater than this? This Bhakra Nangal, where thousands and lakhs of men have worked, have shed their blood and sweat, and laid down their lives as well. Where can be a greater and holier place than this, which we can regard as higher? So far as we are concerned, we are definitely committed to encouraging science and technology, encouraging it not only in its various technical fields, but to build up the scientific temper, a scientific approach to life's problems. One of the biggest things that we have done since independence is the development of our magnificent national laboratories all over India. If we had done nothing else during the last 5 years but the development of these laboratories, we would have had some reason to take credit for our achievement.
I want my country to be strong. And I want the strength of my country is going to be, apart from economic health and progress, the unity of my country and self-reliance in my country.
Our object is to arrive at a stage when we do not depend upon outside countries for any kind of help, whether financial or mechanical. That is what is called, broadly speaking, the take-off stage.